Members of the media, both local as well as our international media and our foreign correspondents, I will request that the team at the back tries to settle down so that we can get started. Welcome to this formal media briefing of the African National Congress on the occasion of the hosting of the political parties plus dialogue on the BRICS ahead of the government-led BRICS summit that is taking place in August next month. I am here joined by some of our international friends from Russia as well as from India. And of course, this is headlined by the Deputy Secretary General of the ANC, Comrade Nomvula Mokonyane. I will also request the DSG to also speak about the presence of the two of our friends in this media briefing. I know that we wanted to have our friends from Brazil as well as from China, but we do have our colleagues who are here. Over to you, DSG. Once the DSG has made her remarks, I will then invite our comrades from Russia as well as India to just make also quick remarks, and then we'll pick up a discussion with yourselves, members of the media. Over to you, DSG.
Thank you very much, National Spokesperson of the African National Congress, Mokonyane. Good afternoon, members of the media, or dear comrades who are with us here. We are representatives of three of the very important parties that constitute BRICS. We have our own comrades and friends from Brazil who have tried to connect earlier on, and because of the challenges on that other side, we will try and arrange that tomorrow we bring them forward for them to participate in the deliberations and convey the necessary message. What is of importance is what transpired throughout today's session, because there has been some understanding amongst all parties that firstly we need each other, secondly we do not only exist for ourselves but we exist for humanity, thirdly that the intentions of having BRICS is also about promoting multilateralism, ensuring that there is also the respect of the UN Charter. And in our work that has started even prior to today, a lot of discussions have been taking place, Mokonyane, through the teams that are working in terms of content development. There's a concept note that has been developed and adopted by all the parties, and that concept note is the one that also directed the inputs as we received them today. We now have the team from our side led by Comrade Togo Didiza that is busy dealing with pulling together issues that came from the messages, including the observations that were made by Comrade Obasanjo, as well as the input that was made by Pao. And as we go into the commissions and interacting with yourselves, one of the things that we all agree on is that for the good of humanity, you have to have a face. And our deliberations around a realization that whatever that we are doing must also take into consideration the plight and the role of women. Secondly, the plight and the vulnerability of children. And lastly, those who represent the future, the youth of our respective countries, but most importantly, young people of the world. We're quite delighted, Comrade Mokonyane, that in the deliberations and the bilaterals that are ensuing, different political parties want to make a meaningful input on what must be the outcome. When we read out the list, it was not just a list, it was also names with intention, and hence they have traveled from different parts of the world to be with us here today. So we're quite delighted, and we're quite certain that it's not an easy thing. I said to somebody, everybody assumes that the August BRICS summit is the meeting, and yet the foundation of the outcomes start at this level, because it is parties that represent the people, and of importance, it is parties that also mandate. Thank you very much for the question.
Thank you very much, DSG, for those words and for framing the conversation this afternoon at this person. With that having been done, DSG, may I ask that just by way of protocol, if you could introduce at your level the two comments, just by way of protocol. Or they can introduce themselves.
We can introduce ourselves.
I like that delegation.
I still remember my name. No, thank you. Senator Andrei Klimov from Russia, and at the same time I'm a member of the bureau of the ruling party, United Russia, the political bureau of this party, and I'm responsible for international affairs of the party, of whole party. And as I stressed today, we have in my party a special international commission chaired by Mr. Sergei Lavrov, who is well known all over the world. And I am senior deputy to him, which is a great honor for me to be in this commission. And certainly one of our tasks, the tasks of the commission and the bureau, is to have bridges between our real friends all over the world. We have millions of friends in different countries. And of course, plus to our bilateral affairs, to have affairs in a framework of organizations or associations like BRICS or Shanghai Organization. That is why I'm here, and this is very useful for us, of course. This is not only about shaking hands, but this is really about some very specific questions, problems, and solutions, I believe. And, well, I'm looking for your questions, of course.
Thank you very much. It was quite crisp. And,
Namaste, I am Satyendra Kulakar. I'm the Central Gujarat Media in charge for Bharatiya Janata Party there in India. This is the ruling party of Bharat, that is India. It's indeed a pleasure to be here as a part of the BRICS Political Plus Summit. I am thankful to the people across here on the dais. It has been 15 years, 15th summit here we are organizing as a part of the team. And it has come along a very long way from just a get-together of the 4 countries initially, and then South Africa adding to it, and to a forum which actually decides a lot of factors for common sustainable goals. I wish everybody a very great day ahead. Thank you very much for giving me a chance.
Much appreciated. Thank you very much. With that, we're just going to have a quick interactive session with the members of this press briefing, our panelists. I'm starting with led by the Deputy Secretary General. May I see some hands? I'm looking for somebody to wave. It's a full house other than what we are accustomed to. I note that we also have members of the international media, and apologies for lack of translation services for this short interaction. But I do think that we can find a way of mitigating that so that nobody is left out. I will move over there. Tando.
Thank you. My name is Tando Mayeko, and I'm from the Business Day in South Africa. To the panel in front, could you just kindly outline what each party or what each country would be looking for in terms of the criteria for BRICS expansion? We do know that the expansion of BRICS will form part of this week's discussions. Can you just explain what each country would be looking for in terms of criteria? What would you be pushing? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I am looking for hands. I'm down the side. I'm going to move to the middle. The cameras are blocking the view, but they are also necessary so that we can broadcast widely. I am going to ask that the DSG initially responds to this together with the colleagues from Russia in the meantime.
Thank you very much. For us, what we would want to put as a criteria is the respect for national sovereignty and also commitment towards the development of the disadvantaged nations, the underdeveloped nations, and use the capacity within BRICS not to further perpetuate domination by those who have the power. I'm sure you remember the message by Comrade President in France. So all of us will refer you to that message. That's what we expect, that we should be treated fairly as well as being equals in the game.
Well, very clever question indeed. Look, BRICS is really about 15 years old. And we are still 5. And I cannot say that this is a bad news. I can say that it is really a very attractive example of how 5 sovereign countries could survive within these 15 years, building new development plan, for example, building some very specific decisions in IT, in making law, in different principles of financial organizations between our countries. And we have really a lot of practical results. So the enlargement of this alliance, I cannot name it even organization because BRICS is not like European Union or something like that. This is another kind of cooperation between sovereign states. We have no big brothers in our community, fortunately, thanks the Lord. And we are equal. We have equal rights. We have veto right in BRICS. It is not possible to have majority or minority. We have to have all yes or all no, and that's it. And it is very important. So, if you'd like to have a kind of enlargement, my personal first question is for what purpose? What shall be the additional value of that? Why? Because, frankly, we have different possibilities to involve in this BRICS cooperation other countries. We have this BRICS Plus, for example, communication. We have Friends of BRICS Club, something. Even in this new development bank of BRICS, we can have other participants. That's very easy. It's very easy. Any country, even not country from BRICS association, but any other country, theoretically, without any special preparations, may be the the member state of this new BRICS bank. And the same I can say about some other frameworks. But of course, I believe that in some future, I don't know when, next month or next year or maybe next decade, we can see some other states in this community. But they must be sovereign states. They cannot be under control of somebody else. As it seems to me, they cannot be members of organizations who are anti-Russian or anti-Indian or anti-China or anti-South African, because we do not need any kind of internal threats. We have to go ahead. It is not very easy. We have a lot of challenges. And having that, we have to have full understanding in between. Again, the enlargement is not a goal. The enlargement may be a possibility to do something in Africa or in Latin America or in Asia. That's it. And I do believe that after August we can have some more news about that process. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, this is a very good question. What we feel that tomorrow there is an entire session dedicated for this. Once we create a framework of what, how and when can we add or probably add, we can add or we cannot add. Once we do that, then and then only we will be able to comment on this. Another thing is, this is basically a political party thing. The foreign ministers of all the countries are going to meet next month. There will be further deliberations on this based on the structure that will be made tomorrow, and that will be the best time for us to reply whether we want to have a plus and how do we want to have the plus. But it's very good. It's very it's a happy moment for us that more than 1 dozen countries are willing to join BRICS. That is the BRICS which has made the difference in the world, and that's what we want to make. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I am going to take another hand. We just want to keep it conversational, just with the permission. I have my brother over there, and then I will take SABC. I'll start with you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It's Nkosinathi Shazi from Power FM News. Now, BRICS as a bloc is a very strong alliance. The BRICS bloc's GDP is supposedly more than G7. G7, of course, is the United States, the UK, Japan, Germany, France, Italy. I think I'm forgetting one. But yes, in August, there's also been talks of a potential new currency backed by gold that could be introduced. So my question in general, and I'm trying to put it as simply as possible, is the BRICS bloc trying to rival the G7 or NATO? And to put it in layman's terms, is the BRICS bloc looking to take over the world? And then finally, to Andrei from the Russian ruling party, I think it's Andrei. There have been a lot of talks about the Russian president, Vladimir Putin. Are you in a position to confirm whether or not he will be coming to South Africa in August, in Gerborg?
Thank you very much. I'm going to take SABC and then we'll turn back to the panel.
When I look at the theme of the summit, I see the issue of multilateralism, which is currently facing...
Please introduce yourself.
Oh, sorry. I think it's a conversation, so I'm thinking I'm just doing. My name is Sophie Mugwena. I'm the international news editor at the South African Broadcasting Corporation. It is a public broadcaster in South Africa, or national broadcaster in South Africa. So I'm saying I see, when you look at the theme, the issue of multilateralism, quite an important perspective. But when you look at what's happening globally, I'm sure many would agree with the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who has raised concerns about multilateralism fading away. For the world to go back to multilateralism, transformation must happen. When the UN was formed, it was after the First World War. Some member countries were not even there, they didn't participate in the war. And therefore, when you look at the Security Council, how it's structured, it doesn't serve the purpose. When you look at the global financial system, your World Bank, your IMF also, how these financial institutions treat the developing countries in terms of loans and grants, it's still skewed in favor of the developed north. As member countries of BRICS, what's your view in relation to the transformation of these important multilateral organizations?
Thank you very much. I will actually turn back to the panel. Yes, John?
Thank you, friend, for the question of competing with any of the countries or even the organization like G7 or. No, we really don't want to compete. We don't want to cross over, or we don't want to get above or anything like that. We always believe that we are 60% of global trade, 24% of global GDP, and 41% of the population. Now that makes this BRICS a very important component of the world. And we wish to grow, but we don't want to drop anybody, or we don't want to come to a conclusion where we are trying to compete with any of the organizations like the one you said, G7. We in India believe that it is Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. Growth for everybody and growth for each and every human being. And that's what we believe. And we will try to sustain the same stand for BRICS as well.
I think part of what is happening, including the interest that has developed on BRICS, is the realization that we cannot, as the world, be over-dependent on the North that has got no interest on developing others and giving the necessary support and cooperation. Because what is also important is cooperation. That there has to be also mutual respect, irrespective of the size of your GDP, but in the interest of humanity. In the interest of humanity, there has to be that mutual respect. The other issue is that what Sophie has said, part of what many of us in BRICS have been raising, of course, is the transformation of those institutions, such as the UN Security Council. We come from a national conference just 7 months ago, and we affirmed that need, not only of the Security Council, but of many others that do not actually contribute towards inclusive growth, towards empowerment of the most vulnerable, and in this instance, access to resources by women and young people. And I think what would be good is that out of this process, even those that are in authority in the UN Security Council realize that things are just not going well. We are faced with Ukraine and Russia when you have the UN Security Council. And yet, ordinarily, that should have been a body that would have facilitated dialogue, and it is now an issue that is being done, like you've seen with our president and other heads of state from Africa, and also the cooperation that we find between Russia and Ukraine on appreciating the efforts that have been made. So yes, multilateralism has been compromised, and it's compromised by those who assume a responsibility that they do not have, including their veto power.
Look, when we are speaking about BRICS, we of course speaking not against somebody. BRICS is not against somebody. This is in favor of sustainable development, first of all. And if you look at my country, you can see that we, on the territory of Russia, have about 1/3 of all natural resources of the globe. 1/3 of all national resources of the globe. Unfortunately, we have a lack of population. Unfortunately, we have maximum 2% of the world population on the territory of my country. And this is a disaster. It's the main challenge of my country. People from time to time ask me about our challenges and threats. The main threats are the lack of population, not anything else. If you look at papers, you can say another matters, but if you look at reality, the main problem is that. From the other hand, in BRICS countries, we have India and China, with at least 3 point something billion people, correct? So even cooperation of these three countries may have a lot of goods, services, whatever you like, for the rest of civilization. And this is the point. Certainly, if we are speaking about visit of my president somewhere, it depends upon very specific circumstances, not only in this particular case, but this is really not so easy for people like Putin or somebody else on his post, traveling a lot, especially in this historical period. But we have direct communication between our capitals, between our leaders, and I do believe that they will have the best solution, everything in their hands. And I do believe also that in St. Petersburg next week, we will see some progress in understanding of this situation. But this is not about political problems. This is about some very maybe even technical things. But again, we are eager to be together, and we will be together despite all these challenges. And about Security Council of the United Nations. My personal point is that, of course, it is not. So we have to change somehow the situation, because among members of the Security Council, there are 5 countries with veto right. And look, China, sovereign state. That's true. Russia, of course, yes. What's the rest? Who are there? France, Britain, not so great like it was. And what else? France. France. You smile. Me too. Is it about majority of the globe? Is it about majority of the resources of the globe? Is it a majority about something? No. No. Where is India? Where is South Africa? Where is Brazil? This is the question we also raise. But the problem is this veto right of the United States of America, and that's it. So, anyhow, even so, we'd like to save the United Nations organization, because we can have no any other institution. We have to build something maybe in future. And in this case, see what to do with this United Nations organization. But I can raise one more question about this organization. Why its headquarters is in New York? We have a lot of problems with that. We are one of the founders of this organization, but it is not so easy for our politicians, diplomats, parliamentarians to visit. I cannot visit New York, for example. This is prohibited for me because of decision of the State Department of the United States. These are their restrictions, illegal restrictions. And I have named a lot of examples like that. I cannot trust this place. So we have to think not only about the list of countries with veto rights, but also about the place. And for example, Geneva for me is also not acceptable now, because they also play these stupid sanction games. And some other countries as well. Helsinki, the same. So there are a lot of things we have to solve together to have a better world and better environment, political environment for solving some other problems. And about Of course, there are a lot of ideas. And the task of Russia is not to beat the dollar, for example. This is a stupid idea. Let them have these dollars in America as they like. But what's happened practically? You know, there are two types of notes, of dollar notes. New one and the previous one. New one, more colorful, the previous note. But this is the same dollars, yes? But if you'd like to change that dollars, the previous and new one, here in Johannesburg, in the bank, they pay for some new notes one rate, for the old style the other rate, for the same paper. But, well, from the juridical point of view, this is absolutely the same currency. This is American dollar. What's happened? This is a big game, because Americans printed too much paper, too much. And if you compare the value of these papers and the real value of what we have on the globe, you can see the difference in trillions of dollars, trillions of dollars. And this is like a gamble. And we're against that gamble. We do not want to live in casino. We'd like to have normal businesses. And that is why in BRICS countries, we have to have a special system of transactions when they can trust to each other and doing things without dollars, euro, and other very specific currencies, which is too poison for normal economies. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm going to take one last question, and I'm going to ask the colleagues, we have run out of time, but I do see a number of afterthoughts. So I'm going to ask that we keep it really brief so that we can release some of our panelists. Very quickly, Channel Africa, and then yourself right there at the back. Quickly, thank you.
My name is Chudongomini. I'm from Channel Africa Radio. This meeting starts just a day after the Black Grain Sea was
Grain deal.
Grain deal, yes. It was
Black
suspended.
grain
Yes,
deal.
I'm so sorry. Yes, after it was suspended yesterday, and there's concerns about how it's going to affect Africa. I'm not sure if the political parties, especially the ANC, is concerned about what it means for South Africa and how it's going to affect the prices in the country. There's also the issue of rice as well. El Nino, we know that in China and India, they're battling El Nino now. That's the other issue which we've heard of a possibility of India and China stopping exports to the continent or other parts of the world. And that's also a concern about the rice prices throughout, and especially for the continent. So I think I'm going to be brief. I had a few questions, but I'll just keep.
Thank you very much for attempting to keep it brief. My brother right at the back, and then I will then end it on that note.
Turkmen Terzi, Turkish representative. My question to panel maybe SDG, Madam
Try to amplify your voice.
The Turkmen Terzi, Turkish journalist. The political parties who are present is a very colorful from all over the world, and some liberation movement from Tigray and Western Sahara of that. So the political parties who are present, what was the criteria and who invited them? For instance, I saw Turkish ruling party, but I didn't see Turkish any socialist or communist party. They were very close. They are close to ANC more than the ruling party. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to turn to you, question.
Thank you very much. I was expecting that question for all the reasons you are raising. The unfortunate thing, there was no response. So invitations were sent out, firstly to our fraternal sister organizations, the liberation movements, and the members of BRICS, including those that have expressed an interest. of being part of BRICS. What has happened, as you say, until now as we were walking in, we were trying to deal with the issue of Brazil, on our own fellow comrades. So it's not only with the Turkish situation. In fact, in some of the places, like in India, we had to even say to our own historical allies, you have to work hard, but for now, these are the people that are ruling India, and we have a relationship with them because we all share a common vision around development. So that's part of the criteria. The other one that is also a criteria are those that we have an international solidarity program as the ANC with them. But what has been good is that has been also supported by the BRICS parties, that they be invited. So those are some of the parties that we have invited. Here in South Africa, we invited the PAC, even though it is also a breakaway from the ANC. But because of its own historical presence in our country and the relationship it has had with other liberation movements in Africa, we invited them and the South African Communist Party, COSATU and SAMCO, because they are in alliance with the African National Congress. So that is exactly it. The ANC does work with parties that are in power. We do work, and we also are consolidating the relationships with our own fraternal organizations that are no longer in power, because we also work with them to make sure that they regain their strength. But all of us, we are joined by just a common vision. So that's the reason why you saw the delegation from Turkey. Maybe we'll get responses to why we didn't get feedback.
Let me add a little bit. Look, dear friends, this is not a state event. This is inter-party event. We are much more flexible. When you ask somebody to come to your house, you send your invitations to those people whom you like to send it. You have no obligations to send it to everybody. The same position we have when we send invitations to our friends. Let's say to our round table in St. Petersburg, we send invitations not for all participants of this Russia-African Summit, but only for our partners, inter-party partners. And this is the principle. When we did our event a few weeks ago in Istanbul, we sent our invitation not to all political organizations of Czech Republic, but to only those organizations with whom we already have some contacts, some projects. And this is normal for such kind of party dimension, the events of party dimension. Coming back to the grain deal. Look, there are a lot of rumors around that. But Russia supplying and will supply our grain to any country we'd like to buy it or receive it as our aid. Look, within 1 year period, the poor countries received from this deal only 3% of grain. That's nothing. But the majority received in the European Union and NATO states. It is not about poor countries. It is about a very strange situation when we send our grain and cannot receive our money back for the grain, because they block our transactions by their illegal sanctions. It's illegal response of the Western partners for the possibilities of grain deal. And what said Mr. Putin? He said, we are not against prolonging this grain deal, but in case if all members of this deal will fully implement, of course, too long trip, fully implement their obligations. And this is the only reason. If people from the rich countries will pay us for our grain, of course, we can send them our grain. But if they don't, why shall we do that? It's a stupid situation. So let them pay for our goods, money, according to the agreements. And Russia, again, stressed that and confirms that we will send our grain, our fertilizers, or whatever may be our energy resources to the poor countries, of course. This is our obligation, but we have this obligation not because we receive an order from Washington or somebody else. This is our own sovereign decision. As in times of the Soviet Union, Russia today also continue this line to support countries in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. That's for sure.
Thank you very much. Did you wish to comment? I did see one or two hands. May I ask that you oblige me, colleagues, members of the media. We can always facilitate some one-on-one after this should have been necessary. But I do wish at this stage to thank members of the panel. Thank you to SG, thank you to our friends from Russia and India for this afternoon's interaction. Do look out for our updated media advisories, where we will continually update you on the work that is happening, including, if we could just get a yay, JP, including tonight's address by the President at the gala dinner. Members of the media are invited. I just wanted to remind you of that, and that will be the last session for the day. Thank you very much.
Not to their work.